welcome to Codes of the Unknown. This is going to be episode 9. Normally, we have Alan and Ryan on air as well. The last few weeks, it's either been one or the other, or none of them. That's because they've both got work commitment, so I'm basically flying solo a lot of the time. You will hear them from time to time, but the majority of the time, that's going to be me. And this week, though, we've got a guest with us. She's just become admin on our Facebook page, and she's got a couple of encounters for us. So welcome, Deborah.
Hello. Good to be here.
Good. Do you want to introduce yourself a bit more?
Yeah, Deborah. I live in Leeds, married with a cat, and I'm into any of the paranormal.
Deb?
What?
Sorry, you're not married to a cat, are you?
No, I'm not married to a cat. No, I might as well be, though.
No, I just when you said that, you said married with a cat. Sorry.
No. I'm married to a man, I think.
Right. Say nothing. Oh. Yeah, so Deb became admin this week on the Facebook group, and she did an amazing job.
Thank you.
And you're part of the BBR group as well, aren't you?
I am, yeah. Live podcasts every Tuesday at 8 o'clock on the BBR Tube channel, whatever. Facebook. Yeah. I think it does it through Facebook and then YouTube.
Yeah, same as what I do.
Yeah.
So do you want to start off with your encounters?
Yeah. The first one that I remember properly, when I was with somebody else, was in 1976 in the school field, and I'd be 7, and me and my friend were in the school field with a school full of kids. The field was full.
Yeah.
And we were playing. I don't even know what we were doing. We were playing, and I said to her, "What's that noise?" So we're looking round like at eye level because we weren't expecting anything above, and it was like the deepest, loudest droning noise, like proper deep. And then we looked up, and this craft, it was absolutely enormous cat. I couldn't see end to end. It was huge.
Really?
And it slowly came across the top of us. So, of course, like you do, I looked round to see if anybody else was watching. And the rest of the kids, I can't even describe it. I did describe it in my book, but the rest of the kids were on the outer circle. This thing had left a gap. There was just me and Sandra in the middle. And the kids were all playing on the perimeter. They hadn't even noticed it.
Really?
And it was huge and it was deafening. And we're looking up, and all I could see was there were like tiny mirrored mosaic tiles covering this thing. It was a proper, it wasn't, well, I didn't see the top of it. We only saw it from the underneath.
Yeah.
And it had symbols underneath. And one of them that I remember, it wasn't quite like that, but it was, a trident, 3-pronged fork.
Yes.
Symbol. It was like that, but with something else on it. That's the only one that stood out to me. The rest of it I didn't understand, but that's the only one that I remember. And it glided across the top of us, and it was, well, we were on talking earlier about height and stuff. Yeah. I would say 300 to 400 meters above us.
Right.
And it glided over really slowly and the same trajectory, and then just disappeared off into the distance. And then we just carried on playing.
Yeah.
So I told my mum when I got home, and my mum never discounted anything I told her. She believed everything I told her, not stupidly like, oh, yeah, all right. She was proper serious. She believed me. And she rang. At the time, there were only like 3 channels. So she rang ITV, she rang BBC, and she rang Leeds Bradford Airport to see if there'd been anything, happening in the area. Nothing. Nothing. Nobody else had reported it. Nothing.
So it was just.
But it was that vast. Just me and my mate, Sandra. So then years later, I tracked Sandra down on Facebook just as, well, it wasn't. It was Friends Reunited, and then we swapped to Facebook.
Yeah.
And we said, oh, well, we both live like a couple of miles apart. We'll meet up for a drink. So we met up for a drink, and she brought the subject up. Because you start thinking, did we see it? What a, kid's imagination, or no, she brought it up.
Right. So, what colour did it? Sorry, I can't speak. Did it have a colour to it?
It was like silvery, but it was mirrored. Mirror.
Yeah. You see some of the little mosaic type
Yeah,
tiles.
it was covered in them. Didn't see
Yeah.
any windows. There were no lights on it that I remember. Just this huge, taking up
How
the sky, this huge thing.
big do you think it was? Any idea?
No, just no, because obviously at 7 you don't really know about UFOs and things, do you?
Well,
Never
no.
saw anything on telly, or we didn't have the internet, so
Yeah.
there were nothing to reference it to. So we just didn't know what it was. We were just gobsmacked that the size of this thing, and there was only me and Sandra that saw it.
Yeah. Was that the first thing you seen? First UFO?
Yeah, that was the first UFO. Yeah,
Right. No, I was only asking that because I was 7 when I witnessed my first one.
yeah. I think there's ages for these things. I think people have said 5, and other people have said 7. There doesn't seem to be any before or after, until you
Yeah.
get a lot older, obviously.
Yeah. See, mine was 1980.
Yeah, which only
So,
like 4 years after mine.
yeah. And obviously, I'm from Manchester, so it wasn't that far away.
Yeah,
So, was it? So you said there was a noise like a You said it was like a rumbling noise.
it was more like a
Like,
droning, really loud hum, but
right.
really deep hum.
Do you feel any vibrations coming from it?
I can't remember that. I can't remember. I just remember the noise and like screwing my eyes up because it was so loud.
Yeah.
And then looking up and seeing, and this thing was just above us.
And no one else that was there noticed it.
No, just me and Sandra in the middle of this circle, the same size.
Yeah.
The same size as the craft. The kids were all playing on the edges of this circle. And there was just me and
Right.
her in the middle of this circle with it above us.
They kind of So the other kids won't have known why they were stood around the circle.
No, they were just playing there.
It was like kind of pushed there because of the craft, but wouldn't have known any reason why behind it.
Yeah, because nobody else was looking at it. There was only us two looking at it. Nobody else, because we kept looking around to see like, and I don't know why neither of us said, "Look at that," or we just didn't.
Yeah. No, it
It was
just
just
seems
something that us two
yeah,
saw.
it just seems a bit odd that all the other kids were stood like in a circle, not stood, but playing in a circle on the edge of the craft.
Yeah,
And then they wouldn't go into like there's a hidden force field or something.
yes, that's the only thing that I could think of, obviously, in later life. That
Yeah.
it created this sort of, I don't know, maybe it sort of moved them to the outer edges of
Yeah.
this.
Without them realizing. No, 'cause
Yeah,
I've heard that before when people have seen beings, and so they've seen something like a humanoid type creature,
yeah,
and there's been other people about. So say it's been stood on the road, and people will be walking past, and then for whatever reason they'll walk around it, even though
yeah,
they can't see it. There's other people stood there, like let's say the one person stood there that can actually see it, and there'll be other people walking past, and they're moving out the way, or there's like a pole or a tree, something in the way of it, and
yeah.
that's why
But they're
they're walking around.
oblivious to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's
No, I've heard
weird.
that.
It's like some sort of force field, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a strange one that.
It is. But I don't know why it picked us two out of a field full of kids.
Unless you're more open to it.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I'd had like when I was 4 or 5, I'd had like little creepy experiences, but this was just off the scale. I've never
Yeah,
seen anything that close up since.
really. Jeez.
But you'd
It,
think with something that close, an experience that close, that would kind of like follow on quite regularly through your life.
yeah,
Like
that's
you've been
well,
selected or whatever, but it hasn't. It's been sort of sporadic.
yeah, same as me. Things would just pop up as and
Yeah,
when. There's no like pattern. Oh, I don't think there's a pattern to it.
no,
Could be years and years, and then I'll see something else, and then it could then be, excuse me, a couple of days.
yeah, it's weird how it happens. Yet some people have experiences constantly. I mean, Sasha Christie that was on Truth Proof live stream last night. She's just constantly. She's being abducted. There's all
Really?
sorts going on for her. Yeah, it's a good watch if anybody wants to watch it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You said you'd wrote a book as well, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I have written a book.
Do you want to tell the listeners about it?
Yeah, it's just I'd met with Deborah Hatswell. She came over, and we were just talking about experiences and stuff. And she said, "You need to write everything down." And I thought, I've never done that. I should, because there's been loads of little things over my life that I've thought, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought, oh, I'll write it down. So I just kept sitting while I was watching telly and writing, and it got bigger and bigger. And I thought, oh. So I messaged Deborah and I said, how easy is it to, publish a Kindle book?
Yeah.
Anyway, she told me what to do. So I actually wrote it all out properly and then typed it all up. And it's only like 49 pages.
Yeah.
But it's everything that's happened, some really weird stuff.
Yeah.
And then I published it. It's called Life is Strange. It's available on Amazon Kindle. Since that, I've sat and thought about other things as I've been getting involved in, obviously, Codes of the Unknown and BBR. Other things have popped into my head. So I'm on with collating stuff for a second book, hopefully.
All right, cool. Yeah, I will be having a look at this book later.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't even know you wrote a book, to be honest, until you told me earlier.
Yeah, I think it was before we'd sort of met, and so obviously it had been on my page, but I will share it on the Codes of the Unknown page for anybody interested.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some people out there that will.
Yeah. We're all into the spooky stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So after that one, how long was it before your next encounter?
Do you know what? It will. What we're 7 then? It'll have been over 40 years.
Really?
Yeah. And that was there were 2 actually. I'd gone over to Flamborough. I'd been to see Paul Sinclair before that. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. I was planning on going to see Paul Sinclair. And a couple of weeks before, me and my friend were going on a road trip, and she said, do you want to go to Flamborough and have some lunch? I went, oh, yeah, that'd be lovely. So on the way back out of Flamborough, I went, do you mind if we go? Because I'd read all Paul's Truth Proof books.
Yeah.
I said, do you mind if we go up, just have a little drive up to Bempton, just so I can see sort of the area, picture. That what, sorry?
Is that up in Yorkshire?
Yeah, East Coast, Bridlington.
Yeah, oh, no.
There's loads of strange stuff goes on at Bempton. There's been werewolves sighted, there's lights, there's UFOs, there's all sorts.
Really?
And not just that, there's things under the sea as well.
Yes, I think I've seen that one, the one with Paul.
Yeah, with the lights under the sea.
Yeah, there's him and his mates on the cliff top. That's
right, and there's like steam coming off the lights.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'd gone for this drive, and as we went up to the RSPB, because there's an RSPB station up there.
Yeah.
And we sort of went round the car park, and I went, right, I can picture now where he's talking about, because I'd never been before.
Yeah.
So as we're coming back down Cliff Lane, which I didn't realise was Cliff Lane at the time, because there's been big cat sightings and all sorts on there as well, and sheep mutilations, everything.
Yeah.
As we're coming back down Cliff Lane, we're approaching one of these holiday chalet camp things.
Oh, right, yeah.
And on the right-hand side, as we're driving along, because my friend didn't drive too fast, so this thing started coming up over the hedge. And my initial thought was, it's a birthday balloon that's got loose, like a foil balloon.
Yeah.
And then as I looked at it, it was a ball of tumbleweed. It looked like a ball of tumbleweed, not attached to anything, floating on its own. And it floated up from behind the hedge. The hedge was only, 4 or 5 foot high.
Yeah.
Came up over the hedge, over the road, and as it went to sort of get in the middle of my view, it turned on its side, and it was like a load of it was flat then, and it was like a load of woven sticks all woven in, and a hole in the middle like a donut shape.
Yeah.
And it floated along the road, and of course she was concentrating on driving, and I'm explaining what's going on, and she's like, all right. instead of like looking and stopping the car.
Yeah.
Anyway, it got to the tree line at this chalet place, and it stopped and went up the front of the trees. Didn't, because I thought it's going to get caught in the trees,
Yeah.
and it didn't. It got to the front of the trees, it went up and then over the top and out of sight. There was nothing attached to it. There were no wires. There were no electrical things. There were no lights. It was just this thing of sticks.
Yeah.
With absolutely no explanation. So obviously, when I went to see Paul, he took us up. He took us to Danes Dyke, and he took us up Cliff Lane so I could show him where I'd seen this thing. But like we both said, it obviously had some sort of intelligence to stop at the tree and then go up the front of the tree and over, you know, rather than getting caught by.
Direction.
Yeah. And it wasn't windy. There were no wind at all. It was a beautiful day. It was just blue sky and sunshine and hot because we had the aircon on in the car. It was that hot.
Yeah.
There was nothing to it other than this. Like I say, it started off as a ball of tumbleweed, and then as it turned, it just went into this flat, woven structure.
Right. I've never heard of anything like that before.
I haven't. I were absolutely gobsmacked. I couldn't understand what it was.
Yeah.
And the size of it, I would say, about the size of a hubcap on a car.
So about a foot and a half? A foot?
Roughly, yeah. A foot, something like that, yeah.
16, 17 inches, aren't they?
Yeah. So, yeah. But there was just no explanation to it at all. It was bizarre.
Was it like wood colour, like browny green? And
it was just stick colour, like browny sticks. Like if you gather a load of sticks up and form some sort of like wove them in and out and form some sort of circular structure. It was like that.
So what do you think it was?
I have no idea. I couldn't even say. I haven't got a clue because I've never seen anything like that before or even heard of anything. While I've been
that you know of.
No.
No.
Just silent.
Smells?
Nothing. No what? Sorry.
Smells or anything?
No, nothing. I mean, obviously we were in the car with the windows up because we had the aircon on.
Yeah, a couple of things I've seen when I've been driving, and people have asked me the same. It's like, I don't know. My windows were up and I wasn't hanging about.
Yeah. I mean, we could have stopped, but obviously my friend was never into the paranormal sort of stuff, so she probably didn't place as much importance on it as I did.
Yeah. So did she see it?
No, she didn't look because she was concentrating on the road.
It's a shame that she didn't look, innit?
Yeah, no, because then at least I'd have had somebody else to sort of back it up and maybe add something else to it that I didn't notice or. But I mean, I was staring at it. I saw everything about it, but I couldn't tell you what it was, other than just the strangest thing.
Yeah, it's just weird how when we see stuff, it's your mind. I don't know if it is your mind that changes it to something that you recognise.
I think it does when you're younger. I think when you're older, you've got a bit more.
Yeah.
What's the word? I can't think of the word, but you've got more about you to sort of think. No, it isn't.
More clued up in life.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
You know what's what.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's because it's like when you said it turned on its side and it's completely flat.
Yeah.
So then it looked two-dimensional.
Mm. Yeah. There's just no way of explaining it. When it came up from behind the hedge, it was a proper ball.
Yeah.
And then, like I say, as it got right into the middle of my view, over the middle of the road, it turned and was flat.
So did you see it actually change shape, or did
it just turned and it had done it?
So as it turned, it had done it. Changed.
As it turned, it was flat.
Right.
There was no shimmering or anything. It kind of
turned over and then become two-dimensional sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's mad.
It is.
That really is. That'd mess me up forever, I think, seeing something like that.
I've never heard or seen anything any remotely like it.
Right. No, well, when we did the last podcast, when we recorded it, me and Ellen, I was talking about something that I'd seen up near I was on my way from Northampton going up towards Stamford,
Yeah.
near Rutland Water.
Yes.
I don't want to go into too much detail because it'd be on the podcast, the one before this.
Yeah.
Well, it won't matter because people are going to hear that one first anyway. I was driving up. I was on the phone to the missus. It was early morning. It's about this time of year. There's no trees, no trees on the leaves. No,
Yeah, that I know
no
what you mean.
trees, you know? Same thing.
Yeah.
So, and it was light enough that I could see, but it was still dark that everyone had to have their headlights on, and there's a constant flow of traffic. It's probably about 2 years ago, and driving along, it's just a long straight road, like single road. So you got cars, say, going east and west. So you couldn't overtake. There's a solid white line and all that.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of turnings, but as I'm driving down, I remember the road was dropping out. I could see the fields and everything. And there's just one like bank of trees on my right hand side. I'd say at least quarter of a mile away, maybe a bit further.
Right.
And so you could see this line of trees. Just one tree after the other after the other. You could see through them. You could see the fields, see a couple of farms and that.
Yeah.
And I could see what looked like a car head. It's the shape of a car headlight, the old pale yellow light bulbs. Not like the white ones that they've got now.
No.
And it was going round the trees. So where you got all the branches and that sticking out, they weren't like just one, like the trunk of the tree. There's like loads of branches coming out. But I think the first lot of branches started about 8, 9, maybe 10 foot high.
Yeah.
So this was, like I said to Alan, say the tree was 100 foot, I'd say it was at least 3/4 of the way up the tree, or even 4/5. It was quite close to the top. So I'd say it'd be at least 75 to 80 foot up the tree. But this was going in between the branches. It's moving along the trees. So to tell you that straight line of trees, it was moving along them. So it was staying horizontal. The height wasn't dropping, wasn't ascending or descending. And it was just going in and out the branches, then going to the next tree and doing the same thing. And I'm watching this, and I'm on the phone to the missus at the same time. I'm telling her, but on the van that I drive, I've got the big quarter light, then I've got me window that I can put up and down. Then you've got the windscreen, which is slightly curved.
Yeah.
Now I thought if it was a car reflection in the passenger side mirror, and then it's bouncing back on that, then I can understand it. But I've looked through the side window, I looked through the quarter light, I leant forward, I looked through the windscreen. I even put my window down and stuck my head out the window, and I could still see it. And that's how I know it wasn't a reflection.
Yeah.
I didn't think of doing that straight away because it was freezing.
Well, it's your last thought, isn't it?
I think it was about -2. I stuck my head out, and it's like about 2-3 seconds, and straight back in. It was so cold.
Yeah.
But this was just weaving in that, and it was the shape of a car headlight.
That's strange, isn't it?
Because when I first seen it, I thought it's got to be a reflection. There was a couple of roads coming off as I'm driving down, but they're only lanes leading up to farm, so there wasn't like there's any traffic on there. There's nothing on these.
Yeah, not like a major road would be.
I was going down this main road. I don't know what it is. I know the road, but I couldn't tell you the name of it.
Yeah.
So I'm driving along, and as I'm getting close, so this light is moving from the field towards the road. It's getting closer to the road.
Right.
So as I'm driving down, it's moving its way this way.
Coming away from the trees.
So it's moving from the distance, coming towards.
Right.
So I'm driving down, and then there'd be a right turn to where these trees are, and there's a country lane, and there's trees either side on this road, this lane.
Yeah.
But the lane is, when I passed it, I had a look, and you could see it had passing points, and it was only wide enough to get one vehicle down at a time.
Yeah.
But what I should have done And I don't know why I didn't do it. It was turn right down that road and park up and have a look.
Have a look, yeah. Yeah,
Didn't
but you
think-
don't, do you? Don't think?
No, nothing. So I'm driving and it's moving. It's not changing shape, not changing colour, but it wasn't, like I said, it was still quite dark. It's
Yeah.
like between dark and light. But there's no light reflecting from it onto the trees. It wasn't emitting any light. The light was like inside itself.
Yeah.
That
Not, it was sort of contained within it.
Yeah, where you'd have a car headlight, you'd see it bouncing off the road or bouncing off the car in front.
Yeah.
This wasn't doing anything like that. But as I got closer to it, and as it was getting closer to me, I could see it. But as I got level with it, I then couldn't see it. And then when I passed it and I was looking behind, I was looking in my wing mirror. There's nothing there. Couldn't see a thing.
Right.
Absolutely nothing. But I spoke to, someone had brought in one of the stories that they had. They was down in they live near Rendlesham Forest.
Yeah.
They take the dogs. They walk the dogs there pretty much every day. And he said that he'd gone in there and he'd seen there's two orbs, and him and his mate was watching him. I think it's his mate. I can't remember without looking. Yeah, him and his mate was looking at him, and then they was like a pale yellow colour. And
Yeah.
once they noticed that they was what this guy was and his mate were watching him, they folded in on themselves and vanished.
Right. So they kind of like collapsed in.
Yeah, so that's what this could have done, as I've got level with it, because at the point of being level to where it was, I'd say, as we was talking before, started recording, I'm not very good at distance, so I reckon less than 100 meters away, between 50 and 100 meters away from me, as I got level.
So quite close.
Yeah, and then I'd say there's only like 4, maybe 5 trees from where that was to the road what I was on.
Yeah.
That wasn't that far. The trees were quite spaced out. I'd say at least 10, 12 foot apart.
Right. So as it came nearer to you, did the light stay the same size or did it get bigger?
No, same size,
Right.
same brightness, same trajectory. But then I'm looking in the fields thinking, it's someone with a drone.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking, no, because this was like, I think it was between 7:30 and 8:00. Who'd be flying a drone at that time in the morning?
Well, I don't see anything.
Yeah, and why would you be flying it between trees that have got no leaves on them?
Oh yeah, you'd do it out in the open, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you wouldn't be flying it right. This was like going. So we got the main tray, then you got the branches coming up, then you get smaller branches and smaller branches, so on and so on. This was actually between the smaller branches, so it weren't like the main arms that coming off the tray. It was the branches and branches, and it was between all that. I don't know what I'm looking at. I can see a car headlight floating between trees. I don't understand any of it.
Yeah.
I just, even now.
Yeah. Can't get your head around it. It's the same as mine. Yeah. There's just no explanation, but you're stuck for anything.
Yeah. It's like I'm looking out the window now, and there's a line of trees that split the houses and then the gardens from the road, because it's quite a busy road at the back. And it's the same sort of trees as that. And I'm looking, it's like, there's no way you could fly a drone through them without getting caught or getting damaged or.
Yeah.
You just couldn't do it. No matter how good you are, it was that close inside the tree.
Yeah. Obviously something unexplained, didn't it? But what?
What it was, and why was it the shape of the car headlight? That was the thing that got me the most, the shape of it.
Yeah.
It just
odd.
I really don't get that. But like I say, it wasn't blinking. Obviously, when I put the window down to have a look, all I could hear was the noise of the traffic. So again, I couldn't tell you if there was any noise. I don't remember there being a smell other than cold air.
Or a feeling?
No. I was just like, wow, like excited, but like, what am I looking at?
Puzzled.
Yeah. Really confused. That's probably the thing that has confused me the most out of everything I've experienced.
Yeah. I've had a couple of things that have confused me, but there's just no explanation for that, is there, other than something otherworldly?
Yeah, but that's what I think with you saying, like with the tumbleweed, it come over as a sphere and then it just went
flat.
Yeah. But from what I could see of this one, it didn't change shape. It
No.
was it was strange. It's like the headlight was facing me as well. So do you
Right,
know?
yeah.
So like a headlight, and it then drops down into one corner,
Yeah.
whether it's the left or the right, depending on what side of the car it's on. To be honest with you, I couldn't tell you what side it dropped down. I can't remember that, but I just
But it
remember.
just stayed
Yeah.
as bright all the time.
Yeah, it's like someone had thrown a headlight up in the trees, and it was floating through, and it still had the power going to it.
Yeah.
And I just
That's amazing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's probably one of the last experience they've had.
Yeah.
The last one that I've had while I wasn't out on the investigation, I should say.
Yeah.
I said it was only like 2 years ago, if that.
Just amazing what you suddenly see. I mean, all these things could be going on around us, and we never take any notice at all.
No, I
And
know.
it just takes that split second, doesn't it, to notice something and lock onto it.
Yeah.
You've got yourself an experience.
Yeah, but I must have been watching this for 20 seconds at least.
Yeah.
It must have been. Because like I said,
At least, I would have thought.
yeah, it was between a quarter and half a mile away because it was just a long straight road, and you could, like I said, you could see the fields. And I know this light moving because at first I thought it was like Chinese lantern,
Oh, yeah.
but as it got closer, you could tell that there was no flame at the bottom, and that it was an actual light that was coming from the inside of it.
You've just triggered another memory for me there.
Have I?
I need to write that on my list. Yeah. A friend of me I'd picked her up from work on the outskirts of Leeds, and the traffic was shocking. We were moving like an inch every 5 minutes, so we sat there, and I don't know what made me look out of the windscreen, and I went, "What the hell's that?" And right up in the sky was an orange triangle, but it looked like, again, contained. There was nothing shining off it.
Yeah.
And it looked like a triangle of flame. And we're watching it, and we both said, "Oh, Chinese lantern."
Yeah.
Chinese lanterns aren't triangular.
No.
And people were looking up at it as they were stood waiting to cross the road, because we got to the crossing at this point. Yeah. And people were like looking up and pointing and then just carrying on with what they were doing. So they were obviously thinking it was a Chinese lantern, but the flame was too orange.
Right.
It was like an intense fire.
Really?
And then when I spoke, how far up? Here we go again.
Right.
I'd say about 500 meters, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, roughly. And size-wise, I don't know. If I'd have put my thumb against it, I would have said the size of my thumb, if it was a triangle.
Yeah. Would your thumb have hit it?
Yeah, the corners would have been stuck out if I'd have put my thumb over it.
Right, okay, yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, it was such an intense flame. And I mean, I've seen Chinese lanterns since then, and when I actually mentioned it to Paul, he said, "Well, Chinese lanterns aren't triangular."
No, the more we set some off the other day. The more like
it's like a square tube, isn't it? Square.
Yeah, tubular.
Yeah.
The ends cut off.
Yeah. And this was just kind of like, it wasn't even like a Chinese lantern floats around on the therms and stuff. Yeah. This was just kind of moving a bit this way and then a bit that way, and it wasn't doing that floaty thing.
Yeah, because once a Chinese lantern gets up into the whatever stream it's in, it stays in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can tell that they're moving, but they're moving really slow, and then that's weird. So was it triangular? As you look, sounds stupid now. So you draw a triangle on a bit of paper. So you've got a point at the top, and then
a point at the bottom.
At the bottom, that's what it looked like.
Yeah. There was nothing. there was like no flames coming off it or anything. It was just this burning hot orange triangle, perfect triangle.
Right. Mm.
Very strange. And it was like rush hour.
Yeah.
And like I say, people at the crossing were sort of pointing up at it and then carrying on with what they were doing. They weren't like stopping and staring or.
Right.
So a few people had seen it, but I presume they would have just thought, well, Chinese lantern. But the flame was too intense. The colour was too intense.
Yeah. Unless they'd seen something different to what you'd seen.
Yeah, maybe.
Because we've had this discussion before, haven't we?
Yeah.
A few
Yeah,
times.
different perceptions.
Yeah, that's it. And it's like your mind changes what you see to something you recognise.
Yeah.
But if you're more open to it, then you're going to see it more for what it actually is.
Yeah.
And not what your mind thinks it is.
Yeah. But it was just the intensity of the orange. It was proper bright orange. Like I say, like a really intense, bright orange flame.
Did you say like the sun, that orange? Or
No, because the sun's white nowadays, isn't it? It was gone at days when we used to have a lovely orange sun. It's usually white now.
Well, I can't remember.
Yeah, that's the bright point. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's been cloudy down there for days now.
It has here. No, it was orange, like an orange flame, but really intense.
Like an orange fruit, that orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with a flame-like quality to it.
Yeah. So could you see a flame coming off it, did you say?
No, there was nothing coming off it. It was contained, like you'd said about the headlight, it was all contained in itself.
Yeah.
It was just like that. That's how I could recognise it was a definite triangle, because obviously there were no blurred edges or anything.
Yeah. So you could see the actual shape of it.
Yeah.
That's mad.
I know. There's all sorts. You see, we don't look up very often, do we? And it was only because I only saw it because, you know, like when you lean on your steering wheel when you're stuck in traffic.
Yeah.
I'd got my arms on the top of my steering wheel and I just happened to look up.
Yeah, your head drops, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I went, what the hell's that? So obviously my mate, she were in passenger side, so she could look up out the passenger window and she's like, no idea. And then we kind of said, oh, Chinese lantern. Easiest explanation, because there wouldn't have been anything else we would have thought about.
So you said that was in the afternoon?
No, it was in a winter night at tea time, so it was dark.
Okay.
Rush hour traffic.
I was just presuming because you said you'd pick your mate up from work. So
no, it was tea time. She finished about 5:30, I think. So it was dark nights. I know that.
Yeah, so that early evening sort of thing.
Yeah.
Weird, isn't it?
Very odd. Yeah. And then last summer? No, summer 2019. No, it wasn't. It was last summer. My friend had come over to stay, and obviously with the weather being beautiful, we were just outside all the time. So she said, do you mind if a daughter Leah and a girlfriend come over because they've got a new dog, puppy? I went, yeah, it's fine. So we're all sat out in the garden, and I looked up, and again, my first thought was a lettered balloon, a number, 0 balloon.
Yeah.
I went, what the hell's that? And it was moving so slowly in the same line. It never faltered. And I'm like, we're all looking at it and going, what is it? Anyway, I came in and got we've got 2 sets of binoculars. I've got a little set of binoculars out.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it, and I was describing it as I was looking at it, and then I passed the binoculars around. We were all seeing the same thing, and it was like, you know, when you go to a pond and they've got the life ring, the white life ring.
Yeah.
It was like that, but it was black. And it was floating across the sky, so you could see the hole in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And then it turned on its side, it flipped forward, and then turned sideways again, and it just kept doing that as it went along.
Like it was rotating?
No, not rotating. It was like on its side with its hole facing you. Then it turned to the side so that you could see it like side on, and then it dropped forward till it was flat, horizontal, and then it turned again so that you could see its middle again. And as it was going along, it was crawling along in the same trajectory.
So it was just showing all its sides, basically.
Yeah. And it was doing this pattern as it went along in the same trajectory. It never dropped down or went up or stayed in one perfect line as it was doing all this as it went along. So I came in and got the other binoculars, and I'm like, shit, it's gone behind the trees now, because we've got trees at the bottom of the garden.
Right.
So I followed, I knew where it was going to come out. So I
Yeah.
got the big binoculars, and when it came out of the other side, because there's a tree at the bottom of our garden and then some trees along, and then they stop. So where it came out, I'd got the big binoculars trained on the area, and when it came into view, it was a dark blood red colour, and it had three brown bands round it. You know, like
three what? Sorry.
3 brown bands. They were like bands that ran round it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So one at 10 o'clock, one at 2 o'clock, and one at 6 o'clock.
Right. That went all the way through the centre of it and round it.
Well, it was like they were wrapped round. If you got one of them life rings and you wrapped
ropes.
Yeah, that's right. If you wrapped a strip of material round at 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and 6 o'clock, that's what it looked like.
Right.
But the actual thing itself was like a deep blood red colour. It wasn't black at all. And it just went out of view, slowly went out of view. But it had stayed in that same path. It hadn't deviated from that path. It was like it was following a line straight across the sky.
Mm.
And then a couple of days after that, because we were all like, what the hell? We couldn't. We'd all looked at it through the binoculars and none of us could say what we thought it was.
Yeah.
Other than something strange. There were no wires off it, because obviously I got a decent enough look. There was no wires off it or anything mechanical, no lights again. Just this thing.
Yeah. How big do you reckon that was?
Well, I don't know, because it was at quite a distance.
Yeah.
But if I think about it coming in, and it was probably bigger than one of them life rings, a lot bigger than one of those, but not enormous.
Right. Now, the only reason that I ask about size-wise is whether it would be a drone or there'd be something actually inside it making it move.
You see, I thought that, but it was solid, absolutely solid. You couldn't see any light through it, and then like I say, we thought it was black. And then when the sun, as they came out the other side of the trees, it was in the sunlight, and the sun hit it, and it was just this deep blood red colour. It was really weird.
Mm.
And then a couple of days after that, and that's another one of them other. I wish I'd have stopped, but I couldn't. There was traffic parked either side of the road.
Yeah.
As I'm coming down to turn into our crescent, I looked up, and what do they call them? Them little silver canisters, is it CO2 that they use for soda siphons?
Oh, yeah.
It was like one of those, but the size of, God, let me think. I can't think of a size. Say the height of a washing pole, that you put your line on, washing post. About the height of one of them, and it was just like that, and it was suspended over the houses a bit further down the road.
About 6, 7 foot.
Possibly, yeah. Probably near 6, maybe near 6 foot. And it was just suspended in the sky. And again, it was a beautiful sunny day.
Yeah.
And the only reason I noticed it was because it was shining. There was nothing on it. It was just like one of those cartridges blown up to that size, suspended at an angle in the sky.
All right, I was going to say, was it vertical or horizontal?
No, it was more pointing towards 2 o'clock-ish. It was at an angle, just suspended there. And as I turned, and because I kept my eyes on it, I was waiting for the traffic, because like I say, at the end on our main road, all the cars park either side of the road.
Yeah.
So there was no way I could pull in, so as I turned up the crescent, it blinked off, out, disappeared.
And then nothing.
Yeah. It went from being there, looking solid and silver and shining, to nothing in that split second.
Were you saying it's like shape of a soda stream canister?
Yeah.
Was it like, did it have like the bottleneck on it, or was it the same?
It tapered into like a bottleneck kind of thing, but there were no other markings on it, or it was more like those little, I think people use them now as drugs, don't they? The little silver
gas thing.
Yeah, that stuff.
Yeah.
The shiny little silver canisters. It was exactly the same as that, but like I say, 6 foot and suspended at an angle in the sky.
Yeah, like a bowling skittle.
similar, but not more like a flask, like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
inside
yeah.
of a flask.
Yeah. Right, got you.
Yeah. It was really weird. Well, like I say, I couldn't pull over then and look because I couldn't. It blinked out as I turned.
Right.
But I couldn't have pulled over anyway because like I were holding traffic up behind me, waiting for traffic to come towards me, and then the cars parked both sides of the road. So it's just one of them opportunities that you think, oh God, you know.
I know, it's crap, isn't it? I love
It
to
is, yeah.
just jump out of whatever vehicle I'm in and go and have a look. Forget
Yeah.
everything else. They can
Yeah.
wait. This
Yeah,
is more
wait for what you're doing.
yeah, this isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, it's horrible, isn't it, when you can't get out and have a proper look?
Yeah. And it never happens when you've got all the time in the world and space and everything else, does it?
No. But whenever I think I see something, it's while I'm working. And
Yeah.
we do a lot of driving around Essex and that. There's a lot of countryside in Essex.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
So most of the roads I go down, because I drive quite a big van, it's like 9 foot high and it's about 11 foot long.
Yeah.
It's the roads are single track where you got the passing places and that. So you get a lot of traffic and everything coming down. So I have to be careful. I can't just stop anywhere. But there's been times where I've been coming around a bend in like a hill or tree line and that, and I think I've seen something.
Yeah.
But I can't stop because either a
No.
vehicle's behind me or there's someone coming towards me, and I've got to keep going to get out of their way. So by the
It's so
time,
frustrating.
so by the time I get to the point where I can stop, nowhere near where I thought I'd seen something.
Yeah. And then obviously you can't go back because you've got your deliveries to do.
Yeah, that's it. And but then it's like there's probably loads of things that I have seen, but I couldn't say it was this, it was that, because it was only like a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, that's the other thing. I've had loads of them where you think, oh, was it my eyes playing tricks or was it this, like pareidolia or whatever?
yeah. But it's like I've seen what's looked like figures in fields, like big black, I'd say 6, 7 foot high.
Yeah.
Probably even bigger than that, even going up to like 9 foot. And it's like it could be hay bales, where they're wrapping in the black plastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it could be a tree stump, or I don't know, it could be anything. And it's like I just haven't got the opportunity to stop and have a proper look.
Yeah. Yeah, it's frustrating when that happens.
Yeah, most frustrating thing ever. I think that's why I've got high blood pressure.
Probably is, yeah, all this stressing out.
It's because of that.
It's not the job, it's all the paranormal stuff.
Yeah. Well, like you say, you never see it when you can park up or there's laybys or like parking areas.
Oh, you're out actually investigating.
Yeah, it isn't. It doesn't happen then. They know what you're doing. That's why.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you're looking for them.
Well, it's like a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if I told you. I was driving through Thetford Forest, and I'm coming around a bend, and it looked like there was about a 7.5, 8 foot tall humanoid figure, like crouching over, waiting to cross the road.
Right.
But as I got closer to it, it was an old tree stump, and ivy had grown round it.
Right.
It looked like someone was, when the stood at the side of the road and it looked like they're just going to run across at any moment.
Yeah, take their opportunity.
But without the arms. So it tapered like where the shoulders would be and then the head.
Yeah.
And tapered down towards the feet. And it was just the angle that I was coming around this road at. I actually thought I'd seen something.
It's amazing how that happens, though, isn't it? Where you have to do a double take and you think, God, that looks so much like whatever.
But as I drove past it, it was on my left-hand side. I just drove past laughing.
Yeah.
Because of what I thought it was to what it actually is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, vast difference.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was funny. I was gutted as well. I honestly thought I'd something. Yeah. So after that one, have you got any more you want to tell us about?
I could tell you about the creature that I saw.
Oh, yes, please.
We'd been back in 1993. We'd been over to. My husband was in the TA, and he'd got a mate, and his mate had moved to like an old farmhouse over there with his wife.
Yeah.
Other side of York, a place called Newton upon Derwent.
Yeah.
And basically it was like a one-horse town. There was just houses, a pub and a shop.
Right.
So his wife made us some dinner and then we went to the pub and I'd said, oh, I'll drive. Because I wasn't really fussed about a drink. I said, I'll drive. So of course husband got smashed.
Yeah.
So we left there as early hours of the morning. And as we came back on the A64, the A64 is weird anyway, because it's in the Vale of York. And the fog is weird. It was thick fog, but it was that low lying, it was covering the markings on the road, just like a blanket, which was throwing me off. I was like, oh my God, this is weird. And then it just cleared and then came back again. But I did notice what, sorry?
It was in patches.
It was more like blankets. It was odd.
Right.
I've never driven down there before in the night anyway, so it probably does it all the time. But because it was the first time I'd seen it, it was just really weird. But I did notice that there were hardly any other cars on the road. Now, the A64 is quite a major route. It's the route straight across to the coast. And there's like York off it. You can get to Selby off it. There's all different places. Delivery drivers and stuff should be on there, but there's hardly any cars at all.
Right.
He's asleep, arms folded in passenger seat, fast asleep.
Yeah.
I've got the radio and I'm driving along. And as we're coming towards Leeds, maybe 5 or 10 minutes from where I live, I started getting really antsy, sort of, I don't know.
Like
But at first it was, a bit prickly.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, maybe, it's because we're near home. And anyway, as we got to the roundabout that drops down, it drops down from Horsforth to Rodley. And in the dip at the bottom, there's the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, there's the River Aire, and there's the train lines, and they all run parallel to each other in the bottom of the dip.
Right.
And I started dropping down the hill, and I became absolutely petrified. I didn't know why. Tried waking him up, because I thought, maybe a bit of company. No, he wasn't waking up at all. And I'm getting further and further down to the dip, and I'm thinking, why am I so petrified? I was absolutely terrified to the point of wanting to drive away. Anyway, carried on going down. As I got level over the bridge, there's a cutout for a bus stop. And at the side of the road was this massive figure, huge, great, big, shaggy shape.
Really?
And I knew that if I looked at it, I was going to die on the spot. So I kept my eyes straight through the windscreen and I could see it in my peripheral vision at the side of the road. It was that dark and dense. There was no mistaking it. There were no other cars about, just me. And I put my foot down on the accelerator and I shot past. And as I looked in my rearview mirror, it stepped out onto the road where I'd just been. Well, we got home. I woke him up. I was shaking like a leaf. Couldn't get the key in the door. I was that terrified. So anyway, we got in and he's like, what's so weird? And I told him what I'd seen and he went, oh, it'll have been somebody in fancy dress. And I went, what, 2:30, 3:15 in the morning?
Yeah.
In a lay-by bus. Oh, they'll have been waiting for a bus. I went at that time. Anyway, you start questioning yourself. And at the time my mum lived, the way that I went to my mum's was up that road. And I thought, right, I was going to my mum's. I thought, right, I'll see if there's anything there, if it was a tree or... When I got level with that, there was nothing. There's like a concrete fence and it holds back everything else. There's nothing else there. Even the trees that were overgrowing over the top of it would not have made a shape that size. And when we're talking like 7 foot by 4 foot, 7 foot tall by 4 foot wide, it was that big.
Jesus. When you went back to have a look, did you get that feeling again? I'm guessing you did.
No.
Was you not? What's the word?
Apprehensive?
That's it, apprehensive of going back.
Well, it was daylight by then. I mean, it was sort of like mid-morning when I went back up there, so there were plenty of traffic and what have you. But the thing that stuck out was the fact that there were no other cars on the road. I passed not one other car for the last 10 minutes of my journey. There was the odd ones here and there. There was nothing on the A64, and there were the odd ones here and there as I was coming into the outskirts of Leeds.
Right.
But there were no cars passing this area at all.
Right. You just made me remember something by saying that. Do you know I did my first interview with Deb?
Yeah.
The Invisible Monkeys.
Yes.
Yeah.
With the
Well,
trees moving.
yeah, the trees. I've driven past loads. It's not far from where I live now,
Yeah.
and it's the way to the next town. And a few of my mates have over that way, so I do that route quite a lot. I've not done it
Yeah.
at night because luckily now I work 6 till finish, and I'm normally done by 4 o'clock at the latest, so I don't have to do any driving at night, innit? But the days that I did see it, regardless of the weather and all that, thinking back, there was no other cars on the road either coming towards me or behind me. Now this is
No.
a main, even though it's in a rural area, it links Northampton to Milton Keynes, and then it runs kind of parallel to the M1. So a lot of people use it as a cut through to get further down on the M1 if they're going southbound, and then coming back the other way to get further up the M1 northbound.
Yeah.
Now I remember the days that I noticed it, there was nothing else on the roads. I know it was early morning. It was about I'd say around 20 past, 3:30, because I was starting work at 4 o'clock. Now, the days that I didn't see it, the roads were quite busy.
Yeah. That's just weird, isn't it?
I know. That's mad.
It's like it's just you meant to see something.
Yeah. And it's like I said, I've been past there quite a few times, and other areas where the trees are laid out very similar with the ivy growing up them.
Yeah.
And it'll even be on a really windy day and they're not moving.
Right.
That's mad.
Have you actually been out and investigated that area?
No. When I first joined BBR, I think it was about 18 months to 2 years ago. Deb sent me the some guy's email address that wanted to meet up, and
right.
No, it'll be about 18 months ago because she sent me an email address of some guy that wanted to meet up, and then like walking through it and all that.
Yeah.
And it was about 2-3 months later, lockdown. So that's been 5 months, yeah. So it'd be about 15-16 months ago.
Yeah.
That, she gave me his email address, but I've not heard anything from him since.
Right.
But in that
time, put on hold.
Yeah, but in that time though, I've managed to get myself started and get a lot of the stuff and set up my own group and what have you. So I can do it myself. But it is good to have someone else there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Perspective of it and what happened.
Yeah.
But,
See, I found that a weird one. The invisible monkeys. I thought that was really weird.
I couldn't think of what else it could be.
No. No, the way you described it, I understood what you meant when you described it all, the way the branches were moving, the leaves and stuff were moving. And
so there's like a couple of bends in the road, and there's like grass in that. There's a bit of a fence, and I think the bit where I passed, there was no fence there. So you got the trees, and you got ivy going up the trees. You've got all the tiny branches. So these branches pretty much from the base of the tree all the way up. I couldn't tell you what trees they are. It's a tree. It's all I know. It's a tree and it has leaves on it.
I'm not good at identifying trees either.
I suppose if someone knew what they were, I'd take them. They'd be able to tell me straight away. But there's grass at the bottom, so that wasn't moving. And then the branches started moving from the bottom upwards. Like something was climbing up and really fast.
That's weird.
Well, it's like you'd imagine seeing, like I said, a monkey running up a tree there quick, but without actually seeing the monkey.
Yeah.
But then
that's just
thinking about it afterwards as well. I thought it'd be like a few, like 4 or 5 foot tall, a few, say like 4 or 5, 4 to 5 foot tall beings climbing up. But then afterwards, I thought it could have been a couple of bigger ones, and I was seeing like the appendages, the arms and legs moving.
Yeah, quite possibly, yeah.
So it was either a few smaller ones or a couple of bigger ones. But
bizarre though, isn't it?
Not got a clue what that was. I've never seen anything like it anywhere else, or even there since. And obviously, it's one of them places where I said I pass quite a lot, and
Yeah.
I'm always looking. I'll slow down if I can as I'm passing that point, and it's like driving past that. It just don't make sense to me.
Yeah. Just completely unexplainable, isn't it?
Yeah, so not got a clue, no idea whatsoever.
But it was like this creature sat in mine. It was when obviously I got in touch with Deb, and then we spoke about it, and I said she was on about that they're usually near waterways and railway lines and methods of transport.
Yeah,
and rivers and things.
Well,
And I
that's
thought,
it.
well, it's perfect down there because there's like the river, the canal, and then the railway line,
Yes,
all
it's
parallel to each other.
yeah. I know it's mad. It's like the one like where I've seen them. I'd say a few hundred yards away, you got the River Ouse,
Yeah,
in one direction, and then the other way, it's probably nearer going up to only about half a mile. You got the M1,
yeah.
and you've got a forest called Salty Forest, and the
Oh, I've
motorway
heard of
runs
that.
through.
Yeah,
Yeah, the motorway runs through the middle of it. Well,
yeah.
I used to live right on the edge of that forest, and I had to drive through it every morning to get to work. Now,
Oh,
I'd never noticed anything in the forest other than like deers and badgers.
yeah.
But then once we've got out and I'm on the outskirts of it, a place called Gayest,
Yeah.
where I witnessed these things.
That's weird.
I didn't. I seen something that I couldn't see, and that
There's
makes it far more bizarre than what
yeah,
it
it does. Yeah. There was actually a follow-on to my story
Yeah,
because I decided back then, I thought, I'm going to get in touch with people. So I put an advert in our local little paper and then the Leeds Weekly News, asking
yeah,
for anybody that had seen anything unusual because I couldn't get my head around it.
yeah.
So every week I'd go collect the letters that people had sent in from the newspaper
All right.
offices.
Yeah,
So I got coming home from work. I called in and picked all the letters up, and then I came home, put kettle on, made a cuppa. So I thought I'll go through these letters, and one of them just made my blood run cold. And we lived in a little village called Farsley at the time, and
right.
he used to cut through there. He worked, like twilight shift, filling shelves at supermarket.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah,
And he used to cycle past the end of our street and down into the village because we lived at the top of the hill.
yeah,
And he was one morning, I think it was something like 1:45, something like that. He was coming down past the end of our street, and the first lot of you get to the library, and then there's the church a little bit further down opposite. And he said, crouched in the road were two of these things that I'd described opposite the church. And there's a row of shops opposite the church. They were in the middle of the road, crouched down, and he was petrified. He stopped the bike, his push bike, and sat there. And he said they stood up, they looked at him, and they went off behind the shops. So, of course, as soon as I read this, I were out the door and I went down to see what was behind the shops, and there was nothing. One driveway in and the same driveway out, and there was just garages behind the shops. There was no way for anything to go anywhere. But that's where they went.
What What do you think they was?
I don't know. I wouldn't have said, from what I know now, I wouldn't have said Dogman. I would have gone more towards Bigfoot.
Like wild man sort of thing?
Yeah, but I
Oh,
mean, if the ones that he saw he said they were exactly as I described seeing on the ring road, and if that was the
same.
case, it was just a big shaggy shape. I didn't see any limbs, I didn't see any eyes, but I felt the eyes boring into the car.
Yeah,
As it stepped onto the road, I could feel it staring.
yeah, no, yeah,
And then last year, it was only on one of Deb's live streams. She mentioned because I'd messaged her about this,
yeah,
and I was going past. I'd been to my dad's, and I was going past the area that I'd seen it in. And as I got level with where I'd seen it, it felt like something in the back of the car had claws in my shoulders. I actually thought I was going to swerve off the road because the pain was that bad. And it in my head, all I heard was, "I'm still here." And it
really,
was just a split second of pain in my shoulders and into my head, like something had grabbed me and, like forced the claws into me.
yeah.
And it was like a split second thing. But in that split second, I panicked because I thought I was going to veer off into the other side of the road. But yeah,
Right.
so I don't know if that was connected, whether it was some sort of reminder or I don't know what it was. But
Oh,
when Deborah mentioned about it, she put me on the spot, and I'm thinking, what's she on about? And it was only after we'd finished the live feed I thought, oh God, I know what she was on about. Yeah.
Don't envy you on that one.
No, that wasn't nice at all.
No, jeez.
But there was a definite I'm still here. Vicious. Ooh. So I
Did you
don't know.
hear
I would go
head?
towards Bigfoot.
Yeah. Did you hear a voice in your head, or was it like a fart?
It was more like a thought.
Yeah.
When I realised something was happening and I started to panic because, like I say, it was just the pain was that overwhelming that I just felt like I was going to lose control of the car. And it was
Jeez.
like a thought that popped into my head that wasn't mine.
Yeah.
Pretty frightening.
Yeah. See, I've heard that a few times. When I was chatting to the guy about Conic Chase,
Yeah.
he went back. He was going through there a couple of days after. He went to get out, started climbing down out of his cab, and something told him, "Don't get out, get back in and drive."
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
always did it twice, and he did it.
Yeah, you've got to go with your gut feelings and instincts and warnings and stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, 100%. No matter how brave you are,
Yeah.
you won't be hanging about.
Not really. Not if you got that intense
No,
warning.
that's mad. That really is.
It is.
So, do you think that was something of this planet, or do you think it's something from somewhere else, different dimension, or
I would have said possibly
is
because of the size of it in the place that it was. I would have definitely said it wasn't our dimension, but it
right?
was so solid and real. It's a
Yeah.
bit of a country, really.
See,
It was
that's
so solid and real that it seemed like it existed, but
yeah.
there's no way it could possibly. Well, I don't
It's,
know. I mean, there's woodland down at the bottom of there, at the side of the railway and river, and
yeah. See, I'm still. Oh, like I said, my opinion changes all the time, but I'm still in the belief that I think they travel either through portals or crafts.
yeah,
I don't want to say UFO because I don't know. I don't know where they come from. But I don't believe they're from this planet. I think they come
no,
in. They seem,
interdimensional.
yeah. So when people say about are they flesh and blood, interdimensional, this, that, and the other, I think they can still be flesh and blood, whether they're on our plane or their own or somebody
Yeah,
else's.
yeah,
They're still be flesh and blood. It's like we're flesh and blood now. If we was to travel to somewhere else, you're still going to be
yeah,
flesh and blood when you get to the other side.
yeah. Because that's what you're made up of, isn't it? Flesh and blood.
Yeah. You're not going to change your whole body construction
No,
to like adapt to that whatever it is
yeah,
that's on that next plane.
yeah.
But yeah, so
I'd agree with
I do believe they travel through portals
that. Yeah, I
because
think there's some places that are highly. I
yeah,
know
I know.
there's a very, very, Mick McLaren, part of
Yeah,
BBR.
yeah. Friends
He's
with me.
tracing, he's tracing ley lines. And
Yeah,
when we went out on an investigation, when him and Caroline came over,
yeah,
he had his meter on, and we came up New Roadside in Horsforth, sort of not that far from where I had my sighting, and the
yeah.
thing was off the scale. The ley line, there's a ley line that runs straight across there, and it's one of the strongest ones. It's massive, and his little meter was off the scale.
Sorry, someone's just decided to start sawing wood outside, so I've just had to close the window.
That's nice.
If you wondered what that noise was, sorry
I
about
heard you shuffling about. I didn't hear the sawing.
that. No, it's like an electric saw or something.
Lovely.
Perfect timing. Yeah, yeah, because a lot of people mention tunnels, and I know there's thousands of miles of tunnels.
Yeah, there is.
From
Yeah,
the UK to God knows where,
yeah,
but they're not the access points to them where people have had their sightings and that. There must be access points everywhere if it is tunnels,
yeah.
but I
And
can't see there being that many access points. To be honest with
no,
you,
I can't either.
I'm not saying there isn't because
No, but I know what you mean. There wouldn't be that many for him to keep popping up in all these locations and stuff. There's
here, there, and everywhere.
yeah,
So I think, like you said, when they went behind the shops, these two
yeah,
creatures, that the guy on
Yeah.
the bike. Then you said, like, you go around the shop and there's nothing there. Were they just going there because that's where the
Their
portal was
portals. Yeah.
because it's not just going to be slap bang in the middle of the road, is it?
No.
But then, can we see these portals? Are they visible to humans, or is it just they know where they are because they've put them there, or it's been put there so they know where it is?
I don't know. I think in some instances, if we're in the right place at the right time, I think we can see them.
Yeah,
But I think they can create them to come. I mean, I don't even know if they move about these portals or whether they're there all the time and they just shut them on and off.
yeah. That's they open and close them like a door. It's always
Yeah.
like the door to your house is always in the same position,
Yeah.
and then it's either open or it's closed. That's how my perspective on it.
Yeah.
So, quick question then. So, we was talking about portals and that, and all the missing 411 and
Oh, yeah.
all the people that go missing in these national park. Do you think possibly then that because these portals are there, and like I just said, that I don't think we have the ability to see them all. Do you think that people have walked through them and not knowing they were there and ended up somewhere else?
Possibly, yeah. Because I mean, you've only got to look at how far some people managed to get from where they originally started.
Yeah.
That it's impossible sometimes for them to get where they've ended up.
Yeah, I remember there's one of them that always stands out to me. They managed to travel something like 300 miles in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand what that's about unless it's as you've just said.
Yeah, it's like how, and they don't even know how they've done it. 1 minute they're walking or driving down the road, like near to the neighbourhood where they live, and the next minute
they're at the top of a mountain.
Yeah, and they've no idea how they've got there.
I don't know if you'll have seen it. I mentioned the other week about I don't think it was. I think it was on the chat on the live feed of one of Truth Proof.
Yeah.
There was a young boy who disappeared years ago, disappeared in this forest, and his parents and search parties and everything were looking for him. And he said it was when he was found, he told them that he'd been stood by a tree and he'd been shouting his mum and dad. Yet they couldn't see him and they couldn't hear him.
Yeah.
So what's that about? When we can see him clearly, he felt like he couldn't move, but he could see everybody looking for him, and he was shouting, and nobody took any notice of him, and he was in plain sight.
Like he was in a soundproof bubble.
Yeah. Or he thought he was in plain sight. Clearly he wasn't because he was. But yeah, it's just weird.
Oh, I don't get that.
I don't either.
Because I was watching one of the missing 411s on Amazon the other day, and there's a guy on it. I think he's about 3 or 4 years old. He went missing. They'd been looking for him a couple of days. Anyway, they found him face down in the snow. And where he was, I think it's, can't remember the distance. I'm just going to say it was 8 miles from where he was to where he was found. But to get there, because of the terrain, it was nearer 15 miles.
Yeah.
You could not have walked there and survived it.
No.
It was all different, like creeks and rivers and like all sorts of bushes. There's no way he could have got through.
No.
Without having more injuries to what he had. And when they found him, he like ripped his trousers and that. He was actually telling the story.
Yeah.
And he was saying that he doesn't remember anything. And when they asked him about the scratches on him, all he ever said was a cat did it.
Yeah. But even if he'd been picked up by a mountain lion or something, he would have died from his injuries.
Yeah.
Or the mountain lion would have stopped somewhere and killed him. Or there's no way it would have dragged him all that distance, is there? Without with him still being alive.
Yeah, there's no bite marks on him. He just had a couple of scratches.
Yeah.
But they said there's a few barbed wire fences that like separating property and what have you along the way. He said more likely it was caused by that.
Yeah.
He just remember whoever he told remembers him saying that it was a cat that had done it. He doesn't remember anything about it. He remembers being where he was and then being collected by whoever found him, and that was it.
It's a crazy phenomenon, is that, isn't it? Because I've heard of them being walking on trails and stuff and then just suddenly disappearing, and then the body's being found up a mountain where they could not possibly have got.
I know. It's mad.
And then the people wearing inappropriate footwear to get up through these rocky areas and, like you say, bush covered areas and stuff. It's just bizarre.
I know. I just don't get it at all.
It fascinates me.
I know. It is. It's just